behind the scenes like never before. Backstage Brew.
Welcome to Backstage Brew with me, Mark Jarvis, here at Wildcard Studios today, as we are going to meet the wonderful cast of Snowflakes from Dissident Theatre. It's a brilliant, brilliant piece, and today we get to see them in rehearsals and see what life is like behind the scenes. So let's go and take a look.
We're not built for this world.
The door stays locked
You're born,
until the job is done.
you go to school. Why? To learn?
I like to treat my work as a game.
No. So you can get a job. So you can contribute. So you can pay your taxes.
Now we're playing a new game.
Why? So we can build society.
Right, we're in the wonderful courtyard now with Robert, who's in the show and has actually written the show as well. Dude, every day starts off with a brew, which gets you pumped into that mindset.
Yeah.
What have you got?
I have a very non-specific instant coffee with a glug of milk in because I'm a classy man. I'm fueled by caffeine all the time.
Yeah, we hear that. We're now joined by the wonderful Niamh, who has come to chat to us about her amazing journey through the play. Character arc-wise, this is probably like nothing you've ever really had to do before with a character, right?
For sure. And I think like what's nice about rehearsals is that we're still figuring that out very much so, like where she's going to go and to what extent. I think we're still like, it could be anything.
Obviously you have a brew. What's in yours?
What's in my brew? So the colour of that might be a little bit dark for some people, but I like my tea a bit strong. So it has to be a strong one.
Henry, welcome to Backstage Brew. It's lovely to have you on. First of all, what's in your super beautiful brew this morning?
Thank you. I have an oat milk flat white.
Because growth is good.
You're my pawn, and I get to move you where I want.
Why? Because
Don't you ever lose control?
if we keep growing, maybe we'll understand.
How do you feel doing this?
Maybe we might understand what the point of any of this is.
There's a lot of open-ended questions, right? And I don't want to give any of it away, right? But it's set in a sort of kind of new company that is kind of not what we're used to, but is highlighting a lot of very important issues in kind of society today, really.
Yeah. It's really tricky to not talk about it without spoiling anything. Yeah, we liked the idea of taking like the framework of like a tech startup company or like some sort of bougie product that's kind of coming out there and uses all the sort of like marketing speech, and it's very kind of surface level, prim and proper, but juxtaposing that with the themes in the play and this kind of dark, seedy underbelly that it covers up. That was something that was always really interesting to us, kind of playing with the light and shade of the whole thing, really.
It's slightly more sinister, isn't it? And like, I mean, as an actor, that's always more fun to play, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I think what's even more sinister about it is that it could happen. Like, that's kind of what we've been talking about a lot in rehearsals, like, especially like, like lately with everything, politics-wise, it's kind of the craziest things have happened. So the whole play is kind of, it could easily happen. And I guess it's written in the sense of, what if all those, like your greatest fears of what could happen to the world happen?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's hard to kind of imagine, but at the same time, it's like, is it?
My journey personally, it ramps, that sinister edge definitely sort of ramps up, but it's something that in my prep, I've sort of had to sort of just sort of find those little sort of nuggets for me to have in the back of my mind, even in the early parts, just to so there's always something present, this darkness that's always there. And then as we go through the process, it's just about sort of turning that dial, turning it up to 11, sort of thing.
So your journey for your character, what kind of prep do you do for that? Are you like an action objective kind of gal, or are you more like in the moment?
I think a bit of both. Like, I think it's always kind of good to have a loose sense of like objective-wise, but I think what's nice with Rob is he is a very playful actor, so you could go into the start of the day and think, oh yeah, I think this is what it's going to be, and then we get into it and it's a lot more fun to kind of just see what happens. And that is I think that's the comedy of the play as well. You can kind of take the lines a lot of different ways. Like, they might be written quite serious, but they never seem to come out that way. So it's just kind of, it could kind of go any way, really, which is fun.
Do you like live in the moment? Do you have like some sort of research tactic that you use to kind of like plot it out as well?
Me personally, I don't. I do like working with actions and objectives, and Mike has some really interesting ideas that I've not experienced with other directors. So it's a similar sort of basis of actions and objectives, but he comes at it from a slightly different angle, which has really sort of resonated with me. But it's very much finding where you sit with the scene. So I try not to sort of plan those actions and objectives before we get into the room, because so much of it is established in the relationship.
So how have you brought the cast together then? Because there's been one or two changes this time around, and with a play that does tackle things like this, you have to get that casting right. So it must have been a sort of not a lengthy process, but did you have any kind of ideas of exactly who it was that you were looking for?
Everything was left very open, and it was really important to us to get the other two actors who were still in the play. So last year it was myself and John, and this year myself and Niamh, when we were recasting the other actors part, to kind of see how they played with each other, like, and have that chemistry. So and doing long reads in the room. Like, we didn't have like a single audition piece and someone comes in, says a monologue, spends 5 minutes, next person. Like, we were quite selective when we had the short list of people. I think we had about 600 people last year and about 300 or so this year, and we called about 25-30 and made sure we spend like about half an hour with each audition, longer if we could, just playing through scenes, giving people a few options. I think that's coming from like a acting background myself. It's always more rewarding to see how the process is actually going to work in the rehearsal room, because someone can come in there and wow you straight off the bat, and you get to rehearsals and that's the only note they have, and seeing how people deal with things being put in their way was quite important to us, I think.
Right, so we're now joined in the Courtyard of Dreams by the wonderful director. Dude, it's been probably a lot of research for you in terms of the arc of the play, because it is, again, like, I mean, Henry was saying, something that we kind of hope to never have to experience ourselves, but at the same time, fascinating to actually experience in a rehearsal room.
Yeah. It's because we've sat with this for so long, it's been really so all of it we hope may never happen, but what's scary is that sometimes it's very close to what we sort of think about, and it's interesting coming back to it after an entire year away, because everything about social media has got a bit more intense, and everything about the generation gaps that we explore have got more intense. So when TikTok wasn't really in full force when we did this last time, so thinking more about how it's almost got deeper and deeper in terms of the generational changes and what this sort of world might actually end up being has been really, really fun, and it's nice with these guys to actually flesh out some of that in a rehearsal room properly.
Mike just prompts things in you that you don't think of yourself. His process allows you to ask, like, not just the question you kind of had in the back of your mind, like the 5 questions behind that question and where the character comes from and all these sort of underlying things, and then he allows you to throw it away, which is really important, because you can intellectualize so much in a rehearsal process, and it becomes quite stale.
For you as a director, do you like to do like a lot of table work, table reads, or are you like, let's get it up on its feet and work through it, and you do all the character work yourself in terms of units, objectives, actions, that kind of stuff?
So I like, I trust actors to sort of like find their own way of preparing for things. So I gave them some things to look at in terms of diving into detail with the script, like casual things like their past circumstances and things, where they've come from, because as you say, there's a sinister journey within the play, and it's a very dark sort of crucible of a situation. So finding things like what makes them happy, what's the levity in this, like who are they as people, and then I love table work, particularly for a play like this, because there are so many questions about what is this world, how is it working, what does that mean for the circumstance of it. But within this sort of time process, the time frame that we have, I like getting it up on its feet very much straight away. So I started with what I call a gallery, which is a sort of change of a kind of hot seat read through, where it gives them there's a series of chairs where it gives them the chance to actually move and actually speak the lines directly to each other rather than around a table. So it gives it informs all of the research that we've done, but in a very immediate way, and it sort of delves that in straight away.
Again, going back to like technique, is that like more of a emotional connection in terms of like something that maybe an experience that you can build on, or is that like a technique in terms of like, do you just like Laban, like as an internal kind of feeling?
Yeah, it's all, I find, it's all there and part of the process, but it's still finding those sort of things from your experience is a big part of the process, and that's something that I've done in my prep is finding, like, just thinking of the things that can be my sort of recall from past experience and stuff. And Laban, I've not thought about that yet. I don't think about that before, but I find it very useful in moments of the rehearsal process where you feel a bit lost.
My twist on the sort of traditional, which I learned from a lovely guy called Ben Thomas, who is a director I work with, is he introduced a triangle setup. The basic theory of that is that the three things that any of us are doing at any given moment is we are thinking, we're doing something, and we're feeling something. And that's, for an audience, so interesting to what we want to see is actors doing things. But the reason we remember it is by experiencing what they're feeling. So giving them an awareness at all times of what they're feeling and what that informs the way they're doing things. It's sort of a twist on that kind of Stanislavski sort of idea, but it keeps the feeling at the heart of it.
I think, was it you that came up with the quote about the Justice quote?
I did, yes.
Yeah, go for it.
Just today, Justice Isn't Blind, it's streamed live to millions.
That is so powerful. When you read that, the imagery you get, and it kind of puts a perspective on the whole thing. It's so interesting. Yeah. And that in itself, as just even a statement, for an actor, is quite brilliant to be able to explore, I think.
Yeah, and there's such an awareness that because the drama itself is so contained and all three of them have very specific things that they want out of it, but what we need to remember is that it's being watched by hundreds of thousands, millions of people out because this has become something that is writ large on the world. So having an awareness that there are eyes in that, like, burning into this room as well as what's going on in the room is something that we keep aware of.
And in just a few weeks, you're going to have that first big live audience that you can kind of work off as well. That energy in the space is going to be beautiful. I'm sure you've seen loads of shows already since they've reopened. We were all dying for it, and now you get that, like, even that first round of applause at the end of the night. That buzz is going to be electric.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be pretty emotional, to be honest. I mean, the last bit of theatre I did, I came off stage crying because I was leaving it, and I feel like this is going to be the same. I'm coming back to theatre. I mean, I saw Paradise last week, and you could see one of the most amazing things of the show was at the end when they all came out for the bows, and you could just see how much it meant to them.
Why should people come and watch this show in particular? I've asked this to Robert, and he was like, well, I can't see the writing. So, I mean, the acting clearly is phenomenal, but I'm sure you're going to pick out another reason as well.
I think, honestly, it's fun. Like, it is, like, it's so much fun to do. It's such, like, it is I find it really funny, and it's not just because I'm in it, but it's just it is a fun time. Like, and it is entertaining, and there's lots of twists and turns, and you kind of don't really know where it's going to go, but I also think, like, after the year everybody's had, I also think it's nice to come to the theatre and also have a laugh. Like, it is, there's sinister turns and stuff, but for the most part, it is just a lot of fun. It's us three being ridiculous for 90 minutes.
So where can people get tickets, and when can they see you at the Old Red Lion Theatre?
So we are on from the 28th of September to the 16th of October. Tickets can be bought from the oldredlion.co.uk on the website. And yeah, come along. It'll be amazing to see everyone there.
Taking pleasure from this makes us no better than animals. Civilized animals.
Backstage Brew with Mark Jarvis.